All right, I guess I had walk-up music too. Thanks, Shane. My name's Rhonda Blanford-Green. I really wanted to say something to Dan. I love what you said about you have to be intentional, your outreach, your training, your education around what your role is, knowing your role. And I think that kind of sums up all the different pieces to the summit so far, is where that training and outreach has to be on every one of our roles, whether it's the parent, the administrator, the official, all of those coming together to promote the kind of behavior that we would want. So thank you for going before me, because that gave me a great opening. And thank you all for still being here this afternoon with Mr. Jay Hammis and myself. Although I have served on the Safe Sports Zone Executive Board, I think we came 12 years now, and have had the pleasure to attend several of Jay's presentations. I'm really excited to hear today's session and act as his Vanna Brown. I'm going to call myself Vanna Brown, as he provides you with the best practices and de-escalation tools for proactive game management. When we heard about the summit, we believe that everything that Jay's been talking about aligns perfectly with the vision and the goals of the summit. Jay is the president and founder of Safe Sports Zone. He's been a visionary leader that saw the need for educational outreach and training of administrators around sportsmanship behavior and event management far before it was a thing. Safe Sports Zone with Jay at the helm continues to be one of the leading organizations in the nation for proactive risk minimization and awareness for interscholastic and collegiate event management. His work has been recognized by over 1,000 administrators, thousands and thousands, I'm going to say. I'm not going to have one definite number, but thousands of administrators around the country, and major athletic organizations such as the NIAAA, the NFHS, and the NCS4. So I do believe today's presentation will be an eye-opener and leave you with some valuable tools. And I originally had for boxes, but I've been hearing the word buckets a lot in the last 24 hours, and so I'm going to say you're going to leave them with some tools that will fill their bucket. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Jay Hammis.
Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you very much, Rhonda.
Just call me Vanna.
All right, fam. I'm a former teacher, coach, athletic administrator in Racine, Wisconsin. Racine's located between Milwaukee and Chicago. Milwaukee's the highest crime rate in the state of Wisconsin. Chicago, I believe, is the deadliest city in our country. So I'm coming from a kind of a challenging area. Understand that. I got involved in security by attending a basketball game in our community. I left the game and walked outside and bam, bam, bam! Gunfire. Holy cow. The gunfire was in my direction as the projectiles were whizzing past my right ear. It was close. Now, I believe that there's times in our school security where you don't really have a time to think about your action plans or anything like that, because these emergencies can jump right at you when you least expect them. Similar to this video. So do you think I was thinking about my action plans when the bullets were whizzing past my right ear? No. There's no way. See, when things get hot, plans evaporate. And instincts take over. And instincts come from muscle memory. And muscle memory comes from practicing. And there lies the biggest problem with school security. We practice, but I don't think we have muscle memory like a fire drill down. So we have to think about keeping our plans simplistic. I can tell you right now, I have seen so many plans, 30, 40 pages. And I ask myself, that's misleading. You got people that are working your games that might work once or twice a month. You expect them to read this, comprehend it, practice it, and create muscle memory? Misleading. So please keep your plans simplistic. Shane, I'm getting a problem with the clicker. Oh, okay. The 5 biggest challenges we have today, I believe, is with the COVID fatigue, political environment, holy cow, our country's so divided, it's unbelievable, mental health and wellness, labor shortages, and one more. I think that's the one we're missing. I didn't hear as much as I would like to today regarding the, Shane, I'm not getting a clicker on this.
There you go. It's like delayed.
Okay. I think I'll stay down here. Everybody in this room, we have a similar belief. A similar belief is, I think that everybody believes if you want a high-quality athletic program, you got to hire high-quality coaches. I think everybody believes that. Well, we also believe, I think, that the best coaches today are teachers. You know, licensed, professional teachers. That doesn't mean that licensed, non-licensed teacher can't be a great coach, but the majority of them that are really quality coaches are teachers because they teach the whole child. Well, if that's true, then we have to be starting to watch what's going on with the teachers quitting the profession. I mean, it's gone on for 3 years. Majority of the teachers, a lot of them that are quitting, leaving right in the middle of the school year. And we also have to be concerned about the lack of college students going into the profession. Now last year we had almost over 59,000 teachers just up and left. I know that's a small number compared to the number of teachers, but this is continuing now. So, what I believe is that when you dive into this and you do your research, Shane, I'm not getting a clicker on this. Okay. I'll figure it out. So,
Point it back here.
What's that?
Point it back here.
Come back there?
Point it back here.
Point it back. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what I did is a deep dive into all the surveys that are out there throughout the country on why are teachers, what's the reasons why they're leaving. I picked this one, and the reason I picked this one is I liked it because of the cross-section, even cross-section of inner city schools, suburban schools, and rural schools. And 9 out of 10 teachers in this particular survey said that the behavior has changed to the worse. Number 2, the inconsistency on following rules. 53% said they're not following the school rules. The next one is teachers need more administration help, decreasing parent and student relationships. That's a big one because you know and I know if you don't have a teacher-student relationship, you're not going to be able to follow rules. Negative behavior excused by parents, poor parenting in this particular survey. And here's the one that really upsets me. 1 out of 5 have been involved in a physical altercation, and 30% of the teachers have been involved in it. 30% of some type of altercation verbally. That's why they're leaving. And I see this because it mirrors that type of behavior and what we're seeing in our games. Now, it almost mirrors society, whether it's in a golf course or in an airport. And what it is, basically, is there's a percentage of people that want immediate gratification. And if they don't get it, one of the reasons we're seeing this physical violence is because of that. Now, I got another reason. It's the culture. You know, I think about the number of people gambling today. You know, 10, 15 years ago, you couldn't gamble on a college or pro game legally unless you're in the state of Nevada. Today, DraftKings, FanDuel, I mean, so let's take this particular this particular fan who might be chasing their money. And, you know, they got $1,500 on a game, sending their family in debt, creating a lot of stress, and an official calls the call the wrong way. Well, what do you expect is going to happen? I also think that the stakes are too high. Brian Kelly left Notre Dame football to coach at LSU, and they're paying them $100 million, $10 million for 10 years. And they're not paying them to lose. So we have this culture going on that I think is something that we have to keep in mind. I believe that most of all our problems at our middle and high school games can be resolved with proactive game management. It's about staying ahead of the curve. It's about getting out in front of these problems before they spin out of control. Starts with the spectator code of conduct rule. You know, a banner or it's on a video screen, but we're trying to send the message before they even get into the game. Here are our rules. Here's our expectations. And you keep it simple. I love the simplistic rules. So you have no follow all school rules, or 2, harass anyone at any time, and if you don't follow these rules, you're going to be asked to be removed. This is, I think, should be a mandate in our country before anybody goes into a high school or middle school game. Keep it simplistic. This is way too wordy. No one's going to read this stuff. You'll keep it simplistic. And I truly believe, as somebody mentioned today, that attending high school sports is a privilege as long as you follow the rules. Now, we have a training manual, and there's 5 steps. The most important step is building your team. You can't do this without a team. And I don't think we spend enough time today. I know I've gone around the country and I hear people in schools that can't get people to work. Well, you got to be able to spend the time to build that team. I believe you got to have incentives. Besides paying them, you got to have incentives that'll gravitate these people to want to do this work. You know, the importance of just the value of high school athletics. But have 2 meetings, once in the fall, one in the spring, before the winter, and you know, give them school apparel. You know, you can go out and get, we got Culvers, and they pay for all the apparel. 2, food and refreshments at the meetings. $50 cash drawing at the end of the meeting. And in the summer, I would go out and knock on doors 2 days in the area and knock on businesses and ask for $10, $15, $20 gift certificates. And if somebody did a nice job at the event, they'd get a thank you card with a gift certificate. You know, you've got to think creative. So these meetings, when you hold them, you want to go through all the different who, what, where scenarios. It's nice to have a diagram to be able to walk through that, naming people in those certain locations so they know how to, at what time to be in their particular locations. You know, the middle and elementary kids showing up unsupervised at your games. You got to have a plan for that. Now, we know, that we've talked about officials all day, it's the host school's responsibility to make sure they're taking care of those officials. So when, you know, when you meet with your group, you know, it's important to understand that you got to have a meet and greeter. Hi, my name's Jay Hammis. I'm going to be your personal assistant tonight. As the officials come in, I'm going to have you escorted on and off the court, have you escorted to your car if necessary. Your job is everything on the playing surface. My job will be everything else. You just built in a relationship with them so they understand that they're not on an island by themselves. PA emergency scripts and having the PA announcer in your team is really important. They're the voice of the game. So it's important that they understand emergency scripts, they're prepared. If something happens, you can get that, the PA announcer immediately gets on the mic and, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, please stay off the court or the game will be canceled. They have to be prepared for this stuff in advance, and it's got to be muscle memory. So who's responsible, as we talked about today at these events? Well, it's nice to have an incident commander, one person in charge at every one of your events. And a lot of times, a coach would be the incident commander. And the last thing is reward your people. I mean, it's all about taking care of them so they take care of the game. Now, our team had an issue early on. And after a year, they came to me and said, hey, we got to stop hiring these people. All they want to do is sit. You know, the guy that, or the gal that was working, they come in, they're sitting down, and they want to watch the game. But we can't do that. So proactive game management means that you're going to work the event, not watch the event. That's huge. That's a bad habit in high school sports. So we had some rules. Be on time with the radio and dress in security apparel. You know, that's important. If I'm in the stands with my granddaughter and she's 11 years old choking on a hot dog, and I've tried the Heimlich and it's not working, she's turning blue in the lips, I gotta contact somebody. And to be able to have your event workers in this bright yellow outfit is very important. So people need to understand the value of having your apparel, your security apparel. Always stand while working, no personal cell phone. But the last one, the most important one, we talk about proactive game management. Number 5, Bruce Whitehead, former executive director of the NIAAA, said, Jay, if everybody would do number 5, shoot, you wouldn't even be on the road that much. Well, what does that mean? Scan that crowd every few minutes. Well, if this is the crowd and I'm working, and I'm watching the game, every few minutes I'm going to look up into those stands and I'm going to scan that crowd. I can't scan 1,000 people like that we have seen here in the bleachers, so I have to break that down into sections and hire 4 people to scan maybe 200, 250 people. This is the most important part of this session. You know, if you're working the event, scanning that crowd, identifying anger, you can get out in front of this before it spins out of control. Every time I see this, every time I see a fight or physical, somebody's not doing their job, because if you look up there and scan anger issues, frustration, somebody's yelling, hey ref, call both ways, that kind of stuff, you've got to identify them with what they're wearing. You know, not identify them with what they look like, identify them with what they're wearing, because it'll be easier to look up into that stand and be able to watch them the next time. So in other words, if I'm watching and I identify that person, next time I'm going right to them and I'm just going to watch them. You know, if you can watch them, you can de-escalate their anger. They know you're watching. But if you can't, if that doesn't work, and they continue to abuse the official or name call theirs, whatever, then you can try a nonverbal or go position yourself near them. Those are very easy techniques. You don't even say anything. Nonverbal is you just shake their head and get eyeball to eyeball and say, come on. You know, let them know that their behavior is inappropriate. Of course, position yourself is important too. But if it continues, you're going to have to go up and address them. And there's a right way and a wrong way. Don't wait, number 1. If this is happening in this first quarter, don't wait till the fourth quarter. The quicker you can get up there and address the person, the better it's going to be. As an example, this is a brain of a misguided irate fan. This is a layman's term. All your emotions come from the amygdala, located in the base of the brain, part of the central nervous system. If it's anger, it goes up into the cortex, as an example. And in the prefrontal cortex lies the frontal lobe, where reasoning and judgment and planning takes place. The average age for total developed frontal lobe is age 24, 25 in the United States. Well guys, you got kids up in those stands that have years to develop that frontal lobe. You got some parents up there that'll never develop. So your goal is to try to de-escalate that anger back to the amygdala. If you don't do that, you get into the red zone and you see that type of behavior. Now, we have done a lot of research on people that have been removed from games. And we have a child psychiatrist on our staff. And what we have found out that this couple, meet them in church and they're fine, or in the grocery store, but in this emotional environment, they're out of control, acting irrational. And so what we have to remember is that the people that we've interviewed, there's this self-centered attitude. It's a self-centered, it's a sense of entitlement. You know, it's all about me, my, I. It's not about the school, not about the team. And so that's one of the issues I said. And also we noticed that no one wants to behave that way. And if it's not a want, it's got to be a need. And there's needs in life, and the one that's the most abusive is power. Could be your bank president, could be a booster club president, somebody in power. And you know, they get to the game, they can't control the official's call, boom, away they go. We need to learn how to address the misguided irate fan. I think that's the most important. You know, I remember in physics class back in high school, I always remember this statement: for every action, there's a reaction. Remember that? Well, using that analogy, today, if you push on a living human being, they're going to push back. I mean, that's the way it is today. You can't intimidate these people now that are acting up like this. You've got to be able to use some common sense and some tools. And the tool that we believe in is, before you address them, remember, you got to be kind. I mean, that's the key. You got to lower your voice and be kind, show some empathy. You got to say it right. And if you say it right, you're respectful, you got a good shot of keeping them at the game and de-escalating the anger. All right, so we believe in choice theory, keeping all dialogue in question format. And so I've used this so many times, it works. I'm sorry, can I help you? I'm sorry. I remember this from Anne Marie yesterday. I'm sorry, why are you cheering that kid who missed that shot? Keep everything in question form, and they got to be memorized, because this stuff's got to, it hits you real quick. You got to be able to go up there, and this has got to be automatic. So, when you ask a question, you've got to listen. Remember that. When you ask a question, you've got to listen. So look them in the eye, look them square in the eye, don't be looking at anything else, but when you ask that question, you have to listen to them. And try to identify their basic needs. I was in, because when you're in the process of doing this, you can tell when they are coming down to earth, and it's about maybe 15, 20 seconds, and during that time, you'll be able to set limits and give them a choice. In other words, sir, you do want to stay and watch your son or daughter play, right? Of course I do. Well, then you have to follow our rules. I mean, it's really not that hard. Remember this, behavior influences behavior. You can't de-escalate somebody if you're mad. It doesn't work. So behavior influences behavior. Now, I'm going to give you a story that just happened this past winter in Florida. I'm going into a UPS store, and I'm mailing some stuff out for schools, and a lady comes in with her husband, or her boyfriend, and she wants this document notarized. And she's talking to the owner of the store, who's very confrontational. And I know the next thing, this conversation starts turning into an argument. And all of a sudden, I can see the boyfriend's carrying a weapon. A lot of people are carrying weapons in Florida. And he starts getting involved, and he starts pointing his finger at this store owner, and I'm going to F-bomb you this, F-bomb you that, and everybody stops in this place, and it's 15 people wondering what's going on. I felt comfortable going over to her and de-escalating her. Having been trained by CPI for all these years, I just walked over and I said, "Ma'am, can I help you?" And she looked at me, and I thought she was kind of questioning and thinking that maybe this guy's playing me. I mean, she was kind of confused. And I just waited. I asked a question, I have to listen. And eventually she said, "Well, I've got to get this document notarized," and this, name calling, and the boyfriend's still yelling. And she said, "This guy, he won't help me." And I waited and waited, 20 seconds. I'm staring right square in the eye, and I'm shaking my head, letting her know I'm listening. And eventually, she said, she came down to earth, and I just said, "There's a bank right over there, 200 yards away." That "No, we'll notarize that for you. It might cost you a couple of dollars." You know what she did? She was like, I just could tell. Everything lifted off her shoulders. And she said, flat out, "Thank you. Thank you for helping me," and walked out of the store. Now, that could have been a real serious situation. So if you're into this de-escalation, you got to practice it. It's not going to happen overnight. You got to work on it. Now, with what we just learned, I'm asking a volunteer. You like Starbucks coffee? We got a Starbucks coffee card for anybody who is willing to help us. You got a volunteer at all in here? Your name, honey?
Rhonda.
Rhonda?
Yes.
All right, Rhonda. We're going to show you a school crisis scenario. You're walking into a locker room. You're the male athletic director, that you'll see. And there's a verbal altercation going on. And it'll stop. It'll ask you, what would you do?
I got
Okay?
notes.
All right. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I got the notes.
All right, here we go.
In this scenario, you are coaching a children's soccer game in the school gym when you are approached by a student referee who's dealing with a parent complaint.
He kicked my nose and
Sir, calm down. His son came up and kicked another kid, so I kicked him out.
Where did he go to school learn how to be a referee? Did you certify him? Who? Show me your credentials. You won't see me get uncalm? Now I can get uncalm.
Sir,
I can get uncalm.
Take it easy with that.
Now, I'm going to just say this to help you out. Because let's say you're blowing up balloons at a birthday party, okay, and using helium. And all of a sudden, you're not paying attention, and the balloon keeps getting bigger and bigger, and pop. I want you to let us know what you would do in this scenario before the balloon pops, and before this gentleman, well, not gentleman, this guy that I rate fan, with the knife, would do anything really.
First, I'm going to address my employee. I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna begin by addressing my employee. Hold on 1 second. Let's listen to what he has to say. And then I'll come back to the irate fan and say, okay, sir, we're gonna explain to me what the situation is. So I'm gonna try to calm down the person who I can actually control, because that's my employee. And then I'm gonna go to the irate fan. So now I'm gonna remove the one thing that's gonna escalate him, and that is the official. So I'm just gonna hold him up so I can hear what he's saying. And then I could probably say the same thing that my official is saying, just in a different tone.
Good, excellent, nice job. Sometimes, having a prepared, memorized statement, like coaches, the parent coming up after the game and asking about playing time with their child. I'm sorry, ma'am or sir, this is not the time or place to talk about your child's playing time. Call me up and we'll make an appointment. That's got to be automatic, and I think most of you know that. Same thing here. A great line in this situation is, if what you're telling me is true, you're absolutely right. Medical research tells us if you're telling me it's right, you're absolutely right. All they hear is they're absolutely right. And so in that situation, just work on the memorized phrases. And again, not being, somebody gets physical. And I'm saying this, it was a finger in the chest, a push, somebody gets hit. If a fan hits one of your workers, I'm automatically suspending that. I truly believe that, and if it gets physical, that you have to do that. When you bring them back, you might want to say to the fan, listen, until I can investigate the situation, I'm going to ask you not to come to any games. I want to get you back. We're going to get you back. We're going to have a meeting, get you back. But until then, I want you to stay away from any games, home or away. When you have your meeting, make sure there's a witness in the room with you, doors open, and just lay out your expectations and get them to agree. It's really that easy. And if you had this person who's been in there before, you might want to have a written contract on that. Spectator parameter.
The Auburn team is about to take the field. Cheerleaders have the banner stretched and ready for demolition. But wait, there's a hanging chair. Let me get it. Now one cheerleader decides to...
Courts have consistently ruled that schools must, and I repeat, must, provide a reasonable standard of care. Anything that ever happened at one of your events you got to ask yourself, did you provide a reasonable standard of care? You have to separate the playing surface from the seating section. Makes sense, but you can't believe it. That barricade tape works real well in identifying your court from the playing surface. And signs like this, they're all free. If you ever want signs, posters, just email me. I can't find my business cards, but safesportzone@gmail.com. Just email me, and Crisis Prevention Institute pays for everything. It doesn't cost you a nickel. So if you're looking for signs, email me and we'll get them out to you. Separate seating, I don't know if you can do this in your facilities, but separate seating, everybody comes through one door. You're going to separate, and you're going to put the students' kiddie corner, and at the end of the game, you're going to exit through 2 doors. So you could keep the volatile fans, if necessary, separated. Appropriate music, I mean, some of the music that's being played at the games are sexual innuendos and degrading women and guns and violence. I mean, make sure your music is screened. Food operation guides, if you're looking for something like that, email me, we'll send it back. I think it's helpful to have your concession, maybe your booster club, have a food operation guide in that concession area. All right, scanning the gate. Today, we need to know who's at your events or in your building. So we're going to ask for a volunteer again. Anybody for a Starbucks card? Anybody?
Don't let me pick you.
There we go. Mike's right behind. Oh, okay. In your,
Introduce yourself, even though we heard you today or next time.
I think you've seen this before. All right.
Okay, go ahead.
So we're going to show you a school crisis scenario. I'm just going to ask you, what would you do? Jeez. All right. Oh, come on.
In this scenario, you are a staff member walking in the hallway.
All right, so you have this person with a crowbar in your building, and what would you do?
Hi, how can I help you? Who you here to see?
Good.
You were checking at the main office,
Great.
and based on response,
Yep.
will be what we will continue to manage. But I definitely want to say, get out here with the crowbar. I wouldn't start with that.
Yeah.
Just, just pretty much,
Pleasant,
but,
showing empathy, kindness.
welcoming, however, redirecting.
Good
And
job.
ensure they know where to go.
And let's just say he left, and the police came, and they want to know, can you identify him?
Yes.
How would you identify him?
Male, based on if I'm not present, I can't see the size. Caucasian male, appears to be Caucasian male, stocking cap, blue jacket, crowbar in his hand, shades.
Good job. Nice job. You know, today, you see a suspicious person, you should be thinking about school officials of identifying that particular person in case that would happen. So many educators in the past wouldn't focus in on identifying a suspicious person. So we want to contain the venue. This is our model, just like airport security. You can't go from the tarmac to your seat. You want to be able to come through the screening of the gate. So you're going to contain the facility and then screen that single point of entry at the gate. So in other words, this is your access control movement point at the gate. That's the area you'd be screening. Now, you can screen for various reasons.
As this student's appearance demonstrates, Having a lax policy about dress makes it easy for a student to conceal a weapon and makes it difficult to identify intruders on campus. A dress code can reduce weapons violations, relieve tensions between gangs, reduce disciplinary infractions, and generally improve the atmosphere of the school. Our policy requires that students tuck in their shirts, making the belt line visible at all times. Our students may not wear baggy pants or colors and insignias that are commonly associated with gang activity. This policy was a collaborative effort between the parents, teachers, and administrators in this community.
Just recently in North Carolina, they had 2 juveniles bring a couple guns into a football game. They caught them, but we have to be concerned about weapons today. There's 400 million weapons out there in the hands of citizens. Majority of the citizens are responsible, and they clean their guns, they lock the guns, but we have some irresponsible people too. You want to know why we have gun violence? It's a number of guns. All right, so we got to place school officials, even if you don't have officers, up at the gate. You just got to screen the gate. So many times I see, I go to schools and there's nobody there, and they're walking, fans are walking straight in, you know, and you're not screening physical characteristics. That's profiling. That should never happen. That's breaking down the trust of our country. So what are you scanning? Well, hands. You know, if somebody comes in with their 2 hands in their pockets, wouldn't you want to know what's in the pocket? I'm having time here today. Let's see. How about body language and eyes? If somebody's coming in and going to commit a crime, they're going to be scanning too. They're going to scan witnesses and number of officers and exit routes. And so it's a kind of a sixth sense. But the best thing to do is get up there and just scan people from coming in.
Security check. The gun violator often will touch or adjust the weapon due to fear that it will fall out of the waistband. This may be observed when the violator stands up, steps up to a curb, or takes a flight of stairs. Jacket sag. The weight of a gun in a pocket may cause a jacket or coat to sag noticeably on one side as the individual walks. Clothing worn when it is too warm for such articles can also be an indicator that a person may be hiding a firearm. A subject wearing only one glove during extremely cold weather may be another cue, as the subject may be trying to keep one hand unencumbered to enable the violator to pull and use the weapon. Visible weapon. Often, the outline of a gun or knife may be visible to the keen observer, and in some cases, part of the weapon itself may be seen protruding from a pocket or waistband. A strict dress code will greatly increase the odds that the weapon can be seen. In a number of cases, the muzzle of a rifle or shotgun can be observed sticking out from under a coat when the violator walks. In other cases, a gun in a shoulder holster can be spotted under the violator's jacket.
So visible weapons is important to be one of the reasons why you want to be up there scanning. Today, you can, with all the people carrying it, you can, if you're looking for a belt line, you're looking for a pocket and socks, and you know, you're looking for the ankles, you can predict some of this stuff, and you can see it. You might want to put a video camera at the gate, put it on there an hour ahead of time, and then power into the game. It's just to prevent. This is all about prevention. And again, you'd have to have signs then. And those signs, if you put them up there for a game, if you have a physical education class in that facility, the next day that sign has to come down. You can't keep that sign up without tape. Metal detectors. You like to go up the back, down the front, and you know what? You're not going to be perfect. Just remember that. You're not going to be 100% perfect, but it's all about prevent. If you are using handheld metal detectors and you're located like in Racine where you have drive-by shootings, you know, that's one of the reasons why I would use it. If you're not in that type of an area, I would not suggest using handheld metal detectors. You got to know your geographical area. Again, you need signs though, posted at the gate if you're going to do that. Clear bag policies, I hope that you'll be looking at, I mean, the colleges, the pros are doing it. Why aren't the high schools having some type of a clear bag policy or some type of bag policy? You know, I hate this probability of something like an explosion, an IED is very unlikely, but at the same time, you can't walk out of here not realizing it could happen. So you might want to have a sign, and one of the signs that's real popular today is "You may be subject to a search." That gives the school some flexibility on whether you're going to check everybody. Again, best defense we have today is educating people like yourself on identifying suspicious behavior. And suspicious behavior, you know, if you look at this backpack in the cafeteria, you know, that's not suspicious. That happens all the time. But that same backpack under a gas main valve, that would be suspicious. If you see something like this, you're too close. There's a standoff chart with explosives. In other words, that explosive device on a outside football field might be 100 yards. That same device inside with brick and mortar by 16, 17 yards. Inside less, outside more. If you have to go and evacuate people, wait for law enforcement. But if you can't wait, just don't take them through parking lots. Now, we need a perimeter security exercise because of the number of problems we have outside these facilities today. It's the majority of the problems are in the parking lots, walkways, versus inside at our games.
News overnight chaos erupting on a high school gridiron. Spectators sent running.
Overnight panic cutting short a Philadelphia high school football game. This video showing the moments hundreds of people went running for their lives after shots rang out. The announcer trying to calm the terrified football fans. Outside the stadium, 2 teens shot.
The people who were at the stadium, both the security, the police officers, and those that were present, are all trying to be helpful, but I think it was just such mayhem when the shooting rang out that nobody saw anybody with a gun.
This comes on the heels of other scares at high school football games. Just weeks ago in Pittsburgh, gunfire broke out at a game. 1 person shot, the stadium evacuated. And earlier this month in Alabama, a football coach ordering his players to take cover, laying on the ground after hearing what sounded like gunshots. It turned out to be nothing.
And this is the 5th week in a row a shooting has taken place during a high school football game, so a lot of concern and people on edge.
Yeah, but how can you blame them for freaking out given all of the high school school shootings we've seen?
You heard the PA announcer telling people everything's fine, sit back down, but nobody was listening. They were getting out of there. Exactly.
That's right.
All right.
Coach directs the players to lay down? I don't think so. I mean, that'd be like a duck in a pond with a rifle, a hunter coming out of the woods with a rifle. Laying down is not what you want to do when there's gunfire or hear gunfire. What you want to do is run, and run as fast as you can. Why? Because a moving object is a chance of being hit 4 out of 100 times. And if you're running and do get hit, most likely it won't hit your vital organs. So laying down, nah. And again, the run, hide, fight is a very, very popular exercise. You know, let's say a hide, you're in a classroom with your students, and bam, 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 you're gonna lock the door, barricade the door, turn off all your cell phones, and hide. I mean, that's kind of a simple, but not one person in the United States, in the business, school industry, whatever, has been injured by hiding. So it's a very effective rule. Now, if you're involved in a life-death emergency like I was, gunfire is flying around, life-death could be a tornado. as a school official, you got to remember this. You're hired by the school district. People are going to be watching you. They're going to want some direction. My best advice in that situation is take a deep breath and focus on human impact. Not financial impact, not psychological impact, human impact. How many dead, how many hurt, who can help me, who can call 911, who knows CPR, who can stop the bleeding. Those are the things that are going to come to you very quick in that scenario. Jeez, I'm really sorry. All right, so in order to secure the perimeter, we've got to extend the scan. We've been talking about scanning that gate, that access control movement point, but now we've got to be able to extend the scan further out. Come on. Jeez. All right, so this is a football field, and you'd be scanning that gate down there on that entrance, and now you're going to be moving it out, and you're going to extend that perimeter. Well, in order to do that, you're going to need lights. And today, this is what we normally see at our high school games. The field is lit up like Wrigley Field, but the outside perimeter is pretty dark. And I think that's where we have to address our perimeter security.
A lot of school architect people, they're so concerned about the aesthetics on what it looks like with these little highlighted lights. Because I transitioned to school and I said, these are not bright enough on this walkway from the parking lot to the building.
Yeah.
And they was like, aesthetically, you know, we don't want it really bright. I'm like, people need to see. And it took a while for them to actually come around and at least put brighter bulbs. But then they had these ambiance. They're like, this is not a restaurant.
Those apron lights that you see at the airport, those are the way, that's a nice light for the parking lots.
Not a restaurant at all.
So, staying off the playing surface at the end of the game is really important, but you got to practice it.
And once again, there will be an emergency preparation drill at the conclusion of today's event. Please leave promptly through the nearest posted exit at the conclusion of the game. Thank you.
If the game is volatile, you got to really focus in on the handshakes, both outside and inside. We've had a lot of incidences in the country with misbehavior. And of course, the parking lot is the last car of the parking lot, and we got to be aware that we need to stay there until we secure that parking lot at the end of the game. I'm really sorry about today with this clicker. I really apologize. You know, I got to tell you a story that happened to me in my lifetime, in my career. Driving out of Racine, Bill, you know what we're talking about, out of downtown Racine. It was a May, beautiful day on a Saturday, about 11 o'clock. And I'm driving my car, and I'm driving past the zoo, and there's a school bus, yellow school bus out there, and about 12 kids in wheelchairs outside the bus. And I kept driving, and I was thinking, God, it must be hard for the parents. And about 2-3 blocks down, I thought, you know, I got the time. I'm going to go back there and do something for these kids. I don't know why, it just came over me. And I made a U-turn, drove back. Across the street from the zoo is a convenient gas station. I ran in there, and I saw some Nestle Crunch chocolate candy bars in a saran wrap. And I bought them. I took my credit card up to the guy, and I was thinking the bus was leaving, so I'm in a bit of a hurry now. I said, can I purchase this box of candy? And took my card, ran it up, gave my card back, gave me the box of candy. And now I had to get across the street, 4 lanes, busy, right on a Saturday. And so instead of waiting for the light, I started, you know, using some skill to get across. And I got across to the street, and there was a tall lady there chaperoning these kids. I said to the lady, ma'am, I'd like to give these chocolate candy bars to these kids. And she looked at me, she said, well, that's nice, but you're going to have to do that. Oh, okay. So I got down on one knee, and one kid after another just started talking to them, getting conversations. He would ask me, who are you? I said, oh, some old guy with white hair. He'd laugh. And then I said, what's your favorite animal? Yeah, we had just a conversation. Oh my God. A random act of kindness. These kids lit up my life. They were doing more for me than I was doing for them. You know, I gave them 3 bars and I said, why don't you give 1 bar to somebody else? And it was in their eyes. And somebody just stopped to take care of and share and show some empathy, show some care. What happened to love and peace today? You know, all this bullying and all these crazy things going on, we've got to have something to go back to our schools. And if every teacher in this country would just do a random act of kindness, it would make a difference. It would make a difference. Well, I left. Those kids were all waving at me. I'm waving back, kind of teary-eyed. And I got in that car and I took off. I rolled the windows down, put the sunroof back, cranked that music up. I was on cloud 9. And I'll tell you what, it was a feeling you can't express. The only way you feel it is to do it. But I can say something today, with all this anger, with the political environment, with the mental health and wellness. Some of these kids are in a dark tunnel. We've got to do something about this. And I think that's one thing we can do. It won't cost me some candy bars in my time. So, with that being said, again, I apologize today for the clicker and everything. You know, it just didn't work out real well. But plan for the worst and hope for the best, and I thank you for your time. Thank you. On behalf of Rhonda and me, I just want to thank you for attending, and stick around if there's any questions. And Rhonda, thank you. You're just a sweetheart. We go back many years, believe me. And just want to say this. I believe, after all the discussions, that we need a national certification. But don't do what I did. I went out and certified individuals. May 15th, I was here in Indianapolis at the Department of Ed, Indiana Department of Ed School Safety Specialist Conference, and we just went over 30,000 school officials certifying and training. Hey, 30,000, there's 450,000 workers that work high school athletics in the country. You know, when you look at the numbers, 18,000, 12,000, about 30,000 middle and high schools in the country. That's a lot easier to certify schools versus individuals. So with that, just remember that as we move down the road. Thank you, and you have a good conference.